Aloha, Ronnie Landis here. I wanted to answer one of the questions I got about intermittent fasting, and it's a very good question, and it's related to protein intake and will having certain types of proteinaceous foods early in the day, will that affect the intermittent fasting benefits? It's interesting. It depends on the kind of subscription you take to intermittent fasting. My personal perspective is that the main reason longevity-wise that we do intermittent fasting is to tighten up and fine-tune our metabolism. And that is an adaptive thing. It comes in different stages and phases over our journey doing something like this, our health journey, our metabolic transformation that we take. And just from the simple perspective for most people, the simple answer is going to be yes. And because I'm trying to activate something called autophagy, which is cellular cleaning, I want to clean out and create an integrity of the cells in my body. And the biggest obstruction from food that most people are enduring is protein toxicity. Too much nitrogen-based protein foods, which are typically animal foods. That's the main thing that is causing a lot of the majority of long-term diabetic issues. Obviously, that's a whole nother subject. Obviously, that has to do with many other factors. But I'm coming from the perspective of the protein deposits that are embedded in our cells, that are embedded in different factions of the physical body. In the kidneys, for example, that's the number one thing with kidney disease. The number one causation of kidney disease is excessive nitrogen-based protein deposits that are localized in the kidneys and the muscle tissue in the joints. I mean, it's amazing what you find out through neuromuscular release therapy and having your body just like broken down, the tissue matrix and the hardening of the tissues broken down through muscular release therapies, and they found out that it's actually a lot of protein deposits as well as calcium that's encased in the muscle tissue. So on and so forth. I could rant and rave about cancer and the protein encasement that surrounds cancer cells. And so the point of this is to create autophagy, which is starting to break down the protein encasements and the protein deposits in the body to remetabolize that as an energy source, but mostly to cleave it off and get it out of the body. So a lot of us are coming from a place of already having these obstructions in the body to begin with. So it's kind of a long-winded and roundabout way of me just saying that no, for most people, it's not going to be beneficial. Also, when you consume food, you increase insulin, and insulin lethargizes the body. It actually dulls the body down a little bit, and you lose blood flow. You lose vasodilation, and you lose human growth hormone production as soon as insulin kicks in. So that's the point about even the ketogenic diets out there, most of them, in my opinion, are missing the mark, right? Because so many of the problems dietarily are excess animal foods, excess meat and flesh foods, excess pasteurized, homogenized, glow-in-the-dark dairy products, the cow's dairy specifically, processed foods, all this stuff. So we have to go through a cleaning out phase first, and this is where green vegetable juices and tonic herbs and water saturation, 1 liter of water every single morning to start your day, is so critical because we need to flush out the system first and foremost, and then moving forward, the ketogenic idea is really powerful, but the way that it's prescribed a lot of times is not really ketogenic, like having these big breakfast meals with bacon and eggs and sausage and whatever people out there are prescribing as paleo or ketogenic. That's not really what I'm talking about at all. What I'm talking about is going in the morning on liquids, caloric reduced liquids, non-caloric liquids, water, juices, herbal teas, and then slowly migrating into more of a, you could say, a proteinaceous, protein-rich smoothie, still in a liquid format and plant-based protein because it's immediately assimilatable. right? It's easy to digest and metabolize and turn immediately into energy, turn immediately into construction material, because that's what protein really is. Protein's not even really an energy source in the same way that fats and carbohydrates convert into an energy source that the body can use. Protein is mostly for balancing blood sugar, but it's mostly for construction, neuroconstruction, construction of the neurons in the brain tissue and the myelin, construction of the physical template, the tissue matrix, your glands, neurotransmitters, brain chemicals, those kind of things. And if you have too much protein in your body, it becomes hard and encased, and it becomes densified in the body. That's my little rant on protein. But back to your question, I subscribe to plant-based protein. If I go to the animal world, I'm going for fat. I'm not going for protein. I can't get into that because it's just such a hilarious irony that animal foods like meat, for example, are not high-protein foods. And 50%, according to the Max Planck Institute in the 1950s, they came to find out once you cook a piece of steak, 50% of the amino acids are rendered unusable because of heat volatility. Amino acids, which make up protein, at least half of them are sensitive to heat. That makes sense. Interesting. So it's fat that you're getting from animal foods primarily, and that fat, like saturated fat, and that cholesterol helps to form anabolic androgenic hormones like human growth hormone, vitamin D, thyroid stimulating hormone to some extent, adrenaline, testosterone, progesterone, all those youthening, or what we call juvenile hormones that help us become juvenile. Or another way of saying that is neotenized. That's the youthful appearance of a mammal. So in human terms, that would be neoteny. Right? We want to be a youthful version of ourselves, and that comes through the certain ratio of androgenic hormones. And so it's actually what I found to be the best way to go about this is to do the caloric reduced juices, water, teas, right, and cleansing teas, and then going into something like E3 Live, algae, marine phytoplankton. And if you're going to move into protein at some point in that mid-morning or late morning or afternoon in a form of a superfood smoothie, I would go towards spirulina. I would go towards chlorella because you need to get the green micronutrients. You need to get the cleansing aspects of those foods in order to also get the benefits of the anabolic benefits of the food. What do I mean by that? Let me break that down because that could have been kind of confusing. What essentially I'm saying here, this is the whole point. This will make it very simple. The whole point of this intermittent fasting and cyclic fasting idea is that we want to activate our catabolic and anabolic phases of our metabolism. Catabolism is cleansing, detoxification, elimination, purging, purifying the body through its own volition, through autophagy, through what the ketogenic idea is trying to get to, cleaning out the body. And then as you move through the day, you start to move into anabolism, which is growth, rejuvenation, regeneration, repair, right? That kind of thing. But that's the phase. The first part of your day is catabolic, and it moves, it swings upward into anabolic activities. And from a diet perspective, that would be things that are protein rich, right? There's a lot more I could unpack about this. You could feel free to ask a new question, and I'll elaborate even further. Obviously, you know that I can go in multiple different directions from one question, but hopefully that answers your question, is protein ideal or protein-rich foods ideal in the first part of your day? And it's going to depend on different people, and ultimately it's going to depend on your adaptation to not doing protein early in the day and subsisting on liquids, and then in your tea doing like coconut oil or ghee or making an elixir with a little bit of fat in it to increase that ketogenic response and also to subsist from sugar and protein as some form of a metabolic fuel source, and subsist on the fats, and then move into your protein smoothie or whatever it is a little later in the day. Okay, thanks so much. Ronnie Landis signing out.